Nitil Pravishtam Vishnuparashatarashata Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shri Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnuparashatarashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnuparashatarashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Sai Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnuparashatarashata Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishtam Vishnuparashatarashata Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Shila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jal Patadash Raghunath Sharda Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. नाम आचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री योग माय की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि गो। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। Hari Bo, Madhavi Didi and Raseshwari Mataji. Let me share my screen. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Vyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Namine. Nama Om Padaya Kshna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Havadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. Gururaya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang Pravrajantam Krityam Dvaipayano Viratara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Bhinetu Stang Sarvabhuta Remuni Manatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Shrinvatang Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridantasto Hyapadrani Vedi Suhrit Satam Nashta Prayeshvavadreshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayamang Charanantikam Bhakta Vihina Aparadalai Shiptashtakama Ditarangamadhe Pamaitam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanaravindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So, Dandavat Pranams, Ganga Didi. So yeah, change of plans. I was going to do the Rupa Shiksha, like I was going to do a whole memorization practice because I wasn't able to make the video. But then only Madhavi Didi showed up, and then she suggested that I do the reading instead today because I mentioned that yesterday, and so probably people are expecting to read today. So yeah, and that was a great suggestion. And so now we are going to go over, going back to Srimad Bhagavatam. Had a how many day break? 4-day break, I think now. So now we're going back and we're going to read the killing. First it was Shakatasura, then Tṛṇāvarta, and then Mother Yashoda seeing the whole universe, the whole Brahmanda in Krishna's mouth. So we'll be reading. I didn't actually see the word count, so I don't know if we'll be able to get through the whole thing or how far we'll get through. But I'll just keep on reading until I don't know, 8:40. Yeah. Hi. Oops, let me take off that line of ocean graphic. Okay. All right. The killing of the demon Tṛṇāvarta. So because we've already gone through the Sanskrit chapter once, I'm just going to read the translations and commentary. King Parikshit said, "My lord, Shukadev Goswami, all the very..." Oh, sorry. 1 second. Okay. King Parikshit said, "My lord, Shukadev Goswami, all the various activities exhibited by the incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are certainly pleasing to the ear and to the mind. Simply by one's hearing of these activities, the dirty things in one's mind vanish. Generally, we are reluctant to hear about the activities of the Lord, but Krishna's childhood activities are so attractive that they are automatically pleasing to the mind and ear. Thus, one's attachment for hearing about material things, which is the root cause of material existence, vanishes, and one gradually develops devotional service to the Supreme Lord for him, and friendship with devotees who give us the contribution of Krishna consciousness. If you think it fit, kindly speak about those activities of the Lord." Commentary. The Sārārtha-darśiṇī commentary by Śrīla Viśvanātha Ṭhākura. The 7th chapter shows the Aishwarya, the power and majesty aspect of Krishna's childhood pastimes. Krishna broke the cart after taking his bath and going to sleep. He killed Tṛṇāvarta, showed the whole universe to Mother Yashoda. By sucking Putana's breast, Krishna showed the power of lips, and the pastime of demolishing the cart, the power of his feet. And by killing Tṛṇāvarta, Krishna showed the power of his hands. He showed his unlimited powers by revealing the universe twice, and this hands the next chapter to his mother. My mind is attracted to the pastimes of Krishna's other avatars, but I am especially greedy to hear Krishna's childhood pastimes. With this, Parikshit speaks this verse. Hearing the pastimes of the different avatars of the Lord fills me with bliss. But if you agree, then please speak about those pastimes which will destroy one's apathy and lack of taste for hearing them. Hearing Krishna's transcendental pastimes creates a hankering to hear more. It purifies the mind of filthy desires. At first, rock candy tastes bitter to a man suffering from jaundice, but eventually one regains the power to taste its sweetness. The Christian soul has no attraction to hearing Harikatha, but continual hearing will quickly produce attachment, asakti, rati, bhav, and finally prem. In the beginning, one will develop friendship with Krishna's devotees, and at the stage of prem, one will feel love for all living beings. Hearing anything about Bhagavan Krishna gradually rids one of indifference to hearing about the Lord and helps one attain prem. But hearing the pastimes of Krishna's childhood quickly brings about Krishna prem. Verse 3. Please describe other pastimes of Krishna, the Supreme Personality, who appeared on this earth planet imitating a human child and performing wonderful activities like killing Putana. Commentary. In his enthusiasm, Parikshit repeats his request to clarify his intention. Being requested by mankind, the Lord appeared on earth rather than being requested by demigods and appearing on Svarga. In this way, Sri Krishna especially blessed the humans on earth. Verse 4. Sukadeva Goswami said, when Mother Yashoda's baby was slanting his body to attempt to rise and turn around, this attempt was observed by a Vedic ceremony. In such a ceremony, called Utthana, which is performed when a child is due to leave the house for the first time, the child is properly bathed. Just after Krishna turned 3 months old, Mother Yashoda celebrated the ceremony with women of the neighborhood. On that day, there was a conjunction of the moon with the constellation Rohini. As the Brahmins joined by chanting Vedic hymns and professional musicians also took part, this great ceremony was observed by Mother Yashoda. Commentary. Kadachit, some time. This means that this incident took place within the 3 months of the child's birth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.727, it is mentioned that the breaking of the cart occurred when Krishna was 3 months old. Tasikasya sakato pavritta. I think that should be shakato. I don't know. The village ladies swelled with joy when baby Krishna first rolled over. O Thanik. When the moon entered Krishna's birth star, Rohini, Yashoda and her circle of gopi friends celebrated the event by bathing the child to the accompaniment of music, singing, and chanting by the Brahmins. Verse 5. After completing the bathing for the child, Mother Yashoda received the Brahmins by worshipping them with pride and giving them ample food grains and other eatables, clothing, desirable cows, and garlands. The Brahmins properly chanted Vedic hymns to observe the auspicious ceremony, and when they finished, Mother Yashoda saw that the child felt sleepy. So when Mother Yashoda saw that the child felt sleepy, she lay down on the bed with the child. He was peacefully asleep. Commentary. After being honored, supujitai, by gifts of rice, cloth, and money, the Brahmins performed the auspicious birth rites. Because Krishna had sleepy eyes, sanjata nidraksham, he was put to rest, ashisayach, for fear that Krishna might wake up. Yashoda held him in her lap without moving. Then she lay down with her beloved son on a cot under a cart situated in a spacious courtyard. Upon understanding that Krishna was fast asleep, Yashoda got up very slowly and carefully. Verse 6. The liberal mother Yashoda, absorbed in celebrating the Utthana ceremony, was busy receiving guests, worshipping them with all respect, and offering them clothing, cows, garlands, and grains. Thus, she could not hear the child crying for his mother. At that time, the child Krishna, demanding to drink the milk of his mother's breast, angrily threw his legs upward. Commentary. Because Yashoda was busy exchanging pleasantries and giving ornaments, garlands, chandan, oil, and sindoor to the village ladies who had assembled for the festival, she did not hear Krishna crying from hunger, Sārārtha-darśiṇī, upon his waking. In anger, Krishna kicked his legs upward while thinking, "Since you cannot hear my crying, maybe the sound of the cart braking will catch your attention." Verse 7. Lord Shri Krishna was lying down underneath the handcart in one corner of the courtyard, and although his little legs were as soft as leaves, when he struck the cart with his legs, it turned violently and collapsed. The wheels separated from the axle, the hubs and spokes fell apart, and the pole of the handcart broke. On the cart there were many little utensils made of various metals, and all of them scattered hither. Commentary. The cart was struck by the soft lotus feet of Krishna as if with very little force. To break the cart, Krishna did not extend his foot high upward like Vaman in breaking the shell of the universe, nor did Krishna's feet become hard like Nara's nails to tear apart the hard body of Hiranyakashipu. This rare display of power by Krishna, which does not contradict the sweetness of his childhood pastimes, shows the completeness of Krishna in Vrindavan. The cart turned upside down, and the utensils of gold and silver scattered everywhere. The wheels and axle fell apart, and the steering pole broke. Puran states that because a heavy demon entered the cart, the wheels sank in the earth, and the cart's height decreased. Thus, Krishna's short baby legs could touch the cart. Verse 8. Yashoda and the other ladies who had assembled for the Uttan festival, and all the men headed by Nanda Maharaj, saw the wonderful situation. They began to wonder how the cart had collapsed by itself. They began to wander here and there, trying to find the cause, but were unable to do so. Nanda, Yashoda, and the other assembled women and guests became dismayed upon seeing that astonishing event. They asked, "How could the cart fall apart on its own?" Verse 9. The assembled cowherd men and ladies began to contemplate how this thing had happened. "Is it the work of some demon or evil planet?" they asked. At that time, the small children present asserted that the cart had been kicked apart by the baby Krishna. As soon as the crying baby had kicked the cart's wheel, the cart had collapsed. There was no doubt about it. Commentary. The children who had witnessed the event described it to the gopis, who could not discern what had happened. The gopis asked, "Is this the work of some demon or evil planets?" Verse 10. The gopis and gopas, unaware that Krishna is always unlimited, could not believe that baby Krishna had such inconceivable power. They could not believe the statements of the children, and therefore they neglected these statements as being childish talk. Manjari mentioned last class, well, why doesn't anybody ever believe the children? Because there's a few instances like that. Commentary. The cowherd men did not believe the statements of the children. Verse 11. Thinking that some bad planet had attacked Krishna, Mother Yashoda picked up the crying child and allowed him to suck her breasts. Then she called for experienced Brahmins to chant Vedic hymns and perform an auspicious ritualistic ceremony. Commentary. Yashoda had the Brahmins perform the Swasthayan, chanting to ward off demons. Verse 12. After the strong, stout cowherd men assembled the pots and paraphernalia on the handcart and set it up as before, the Brahmins performed a ritualistic ceremony with a fire sacrifice to appease the bad planet, and then with grains, kusha, water, and curd, they worshipped the Supreme Lord. Commentary. The cart was repaired and put in original position by some strong cowherd men. This proves that the cart was very large. The cowherd men worshipped the cart because the cart was one of their main possessions, being the abode of Lakshmi, and the storehouse of their accumulated wealth. Verses 13 to 15. When Brahmins are free from envy, untruthfulness, unnecessary pride, grudges, disturbance by the opulence of others, and false prestige, their blessings never go in vain. Considering this, Nanda Maharaj soberly took Krishna on his lap and invited such truthful Brahmins to perform a ritualistic ceremony according to the holy hymns of the Samaveda, Rigveda, and Yajurveda. Then, while the hymns were being chanted, he bathed the with water mixed with pure herbs, and after performing a fire ceremony, he sumptuously fed all the Brahmins with first-class grains and other food. Commentary. The blessings of Brahmins were good for his child's welfare. Nanda spoke this verse. Man means pride. The blessings of qualified Brahmins must bear fruit. Krishna was sprinkled with water, Sarvoshadi and Mahoshadi, and purified by mantras from the Sam, Rig, and Yajurveda. Nanda Maharaj performed the sacrifice and then fed the Brahmins with tasty aromatic food, Mahaguna. Nanda Maharaj, for the sake of the affluence of his own son Krishna, gave the Brahmins cows fully decorated with garments, flower garlands, and gold necklaces. These cows, fully qualified to give ample milk, were given to the Brahmins in charity, and the Brahmins accepted them and bestowed blessings upon the whole family, and especially upon Krishna. I love how the cows are decorated with garments, flower garlands, and golden necklaces. Commentary. Nanda Maharaj gave cows endowed with all qualities, sarva gunopita, which means that they gave abundant milk. Then, Anu accepted Ayunjata, the cows. Verse 17. The Brahmins who were completely expert in chanting the Vedic hymns, all yogis, fully equipped with mystic powers. Whatever blessings they spoke were certainly never fruitless. Commentary. The Brahmins are described here as Yukta, which means they were great yogis, yogina, and thus whatever blessings they gave would come true. Verse 18. One day, a year after Krishna's appearance, Mother Yashoda was done on her lap. But suddenly, she felt the child to be heavier than a mountain peak, and she could no longer bear his commentary. What use are all these things for me, the Lord? What use are all these things for me, the Lord of all wealth? What's that? This event took place when Krishna was 1 year old. The Bhagavatam 10:26-6 says, Ekahayana asino riyamano vihayasa daitena yasnavartam. The demon Tṛṇāvarta took away Krishna when the Lord was 1 year old. Yashoda felt great bliss by placing Krishna on her lap, lifting him up in the air with her 2 hands. Suddenly, Krishna became as heaven as a mountain top, and Yashoda could no longer hold. Krishna knew that Tṛṇāvarta would kidnap Yashoda along with himself. Therefore, Krishna displayed his Aishwarya Shakti in order to prevent any pain coming to Yashoda. Becoming heavier than the heaviest, Krishna forced Yashoda to place him on the ground. Yashoda can only lift me a little, but I want to play in the sky. Desire this, Krishna let the Asura take him away. 1 second, let me just see everything's running okay. Oh wow, lots of people there. Hari Gargraji, Champak Didi, Yashoda Didi, Standava pronounce everybody. Verse 19. Feeling the child to be as heavy as the entire universe, and therefore being anxious, thinking that perhaps it was some other ghost or demon, the astonished Mother Yashoda put the child down on the ground and began to think of Narayan. Foreseeing disturbances, she called for the Brahmins to counteract this heaviness, and then she began her other household affairs. She had no alternative than to remember the lotus feet of Narayan, for she could not understand that Krishna was the original source of everything. Commentary. Being disturbed, Yashoda put Krishna on the ground as she wondered. How her son had suddenly become. Maybe some demon has done this. Fearing this, Yashoda took shelter of Narayan, the Lord of the universe. Yashoda glanced upward to Vaikuntha, and in meditation said, "O Lord, you have given the son, so now you must protect him." Then, in great anxiety, Yashoda went out to Brahmins to perform the Svasthayan karma, ceremonies for good fortune. Verse 20. While the child was sitting on the ground, a demon named Tṛṇāvarta, who was a servant of Kamsa's, came there as a whirlwind at Kamsa's instigation, and easily carried the child away into the air. Commentary. Just at that time, Tṛṇāvarta came and stole the child. By the influence of his Aishvarya Shakti, Krishna became so light that Tṛṇāvarta could lift him. Verse 21. Covering the whole land of Gokul with particles of dust, that demon, acting as a strong whirlwind, covered everyone's vision and began vibrating everywhere with a greatly fearful sound. Commentary. A tumultuous sound reverberated, iriyan, in all directions. Verse 22. For a moment, the whole pasturing ground was overcast with dense darkness from the dust storm, and Mother Yashoda was unable to find her son where she had placed him. Commentary. Yashoda did not see baby Krishna there, where she had left him. Verse 23. Because of the bits of sands thrown about by Tṛṇāvarta, people could not see themselves or anyone else, and thus they were illusioned and disturbed. Verse 24. Because of the dust storm stirred up by the strong whirlwind, Mother Yashoda could find no trace of her son, nor could she understand him. Thus she fell down on the ground like a cow who has lost her calf, and to lament very pitifully. Commentary. Yashoda could not see her child, Avaliksha, because of the thick layers of dust showering down from the whirlwind's demon. Verse 25. When the force of the dust storm and the winds, Mother Yashoda's friends, the other gopis, approached Mother Yashoda, hearing pitiful crying. Not seeing Krishna, they too felt very much aggrieved and joined Mother Yashoda in crying, their eyes full of tears. Commentary. After the gusts of wind blew away the dust, the gopis heard crying from Mother Yashoda's house. They also began crying as they converged on Yashoda's house from all directions. 26. Having assumed the form of a forceful whirlwind, the demon Tṛṇāvarta took Krishna very high into the sky. But when Krishna became heavier than the demon had to stop his force and could go no further. Commentary. At first, Krishna was as light as a normal child, and Tṛṇāvarta lifted him high in the sky. When Krishna became heavy, however, Tṛṇāvarta slowed down. Within seconds, Tṛṇāvarta could not carry Krishna any further, so he stopped moving. Verse 27. Because of Krishna's weight, Tṛṇāvarta considered him to be like a great mountain or a hunk of iron. But because Krishna had caught the demon's neck, the demon was unable to throw him off. He therefore thought of the child as wonderful, since he could neither bear the child nor cast aside the burden. Commentary. After fulfilling his desire to fly in the sky and the desire of the celestial ladies of Swarga to see his incomparable beauty, Krishna prepared to kill Tṛṇāvarta. Krishna became so heavy that the demon felt that he was carrying a mountain made of iron. Because Krishna was holding the neck, Tṛṇāvarta could not throw off the Lord. Playing the part of a small child, Krishna feigned fear of falling from the height and therefore clung to Tṛṇāvarta's neck. 28. With Krishna grasping him by the throat, Tṛṇāvarta choked, unable to make even a sound or even to move his hands and legs. His eyes popping out, the demon lost his life and fell, along with the little boy, down to the ground of Vraj. Gurudev would always say, popping out like what school is. Verse 29. While the gopis who had gathered were crying for Krishna, the demon fell from the sky onto a big slab of stone, his limbs dislocated, as if he had been pierced by the arrow of Lord Shiva like Tripurasura. Verse 30. The gopis immediately picked Krishna up the chest of the demon and delivered him free from all inauspicious to Mother Yashoda. Although taken into the sky by the demon, was unhurt, free from all danger and misfortune, the gopi cowherdmen, headed by Nanda Maharaj, were extremely happy. Commentary. The gopis picked up Krishna, who was clinging to the chest of the demon, and gave him to Yashoda. They were astonished to see how the demon had fallen on his back on a stone slab. Krishna was unharmed, playing on his chest. Though Krishna was taken by the demon, the Purushada, eater of humans, high into the sky, he was miraculously saved from the mouth of death. 31. It is most astonishing that although this innocent was taken away by the Rakshasa to be eaten, he is returned without having been killed or even injured. Because this is cruel and sinful, he has been killed for his own sinful activities. This is the law of nature. An innocent devotee is owed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and a sinful person is always wished for his sinful life. Commentary. Krishna was only a small, delicate child, yet he clearly manifested enormous power to kill such a great demon. This, however, did not decrease the affection of Nanda Maharaj and the others. Rather, it increased it. This idea is expressed in 3 verses. Atyadbhutam Esha. Krishna's feat was the most astonishing of all possible astonishing things. This was so because baby Krishna became annihilated. The word mara, death, is not used because of its inauspicious connotations. Though Krishna neared death, he again turned to his friends. One of Krishna remarked, "But what is so astonishing? The demon was destroyed because of his sin, swapapin, of stealing an innocent child. Though Krishna is only a child, he is saintly. He regards enemies and friendly, samatmena, and thus he was saved from danger." Verse 32. Nanda Maharaj and the others said, "We must previously have performed austerities for a very long time. The Supreme Personality of Godhead performed pious activities for public life, constructing public roads and wells, and also given charity, as a result of which this boy, although faced with death, has returned to give happiness to his relatives." Commentary. Nanda Maharaj and others began to speak. If anything inauspicious had happened to Krishna, we all would have died. That Krishna is unharmed is a result of heaps of pious activities. Thus they spoke this verse. How much austerities they must have done, Chirna. How much worship of the Lord, how many entities, how many auspicious works such as sacrifices, Ishtam, and constructing a well or canal, purta. Because of these good deeds, Krishna has returned from death to bring life, pranayan, to his friends by showing his affection. Verse 33. Seeing all these incidents in Brihadvan, Nanda Maharaj became more and more astonished, and he remembered the word to him by Vasudeva in Mathura. Verse 34. One day, Mother Yashoda, having picked up Krishna and placing him on her lap, was feeding him milk from her breasts with maternal affection. The milk was flowing from her breasts, and the child was drinking it. Verse 35 and 36. Oh, Parikshit, when the child Krishna was almost finished drinking his mother's milk, and Mother Yashoda was touching him and looking at his beautiful, brilliant, smiling face, the baby yawned, and Mother Yashoda saw in his mouth the whole sky, the higher planetary system, and the earth, the luminaries in all directions, the sun, the moon, fire, air, the seas, islands, mountains, rivers, forests, and all kinds of living entities, moving and non-moving. Commentary. Krishna had almost finished drinking Krishna had almost completely finished drinking Yashoda's milk. When Krishna yawned, Yashoda saw the entire universe within idam mukhe. In another version of Srimad Bhagavatam, it states that while Yashoda was kissing Krishna, she saw the universe in his stomach. Lord Brahma makes the same point in the Srimad Bhagavatam 14:16. Kritsnasya chantar japtare jananya. O Lord, you exhibited the universe within your abdomen before your Yashoda. Though Krishna was lying in his mother's lap, by his inconceivable energy, he is also the foundation of the whole universe. At the moment Krishna yawned, he displayed the universe He displayed the universe with all its details by his inconceivable energy. Yashoda saw the antariksha, the outer space, or the area between Purloka and Purvaloka, and Purvaloka, Svargaloka, Martyaloka, and Pataloka. The three worlds, Rodasi, the constellations, the directions, the sun, the moon, fire, air, Jambudvip, and the other islands, Dvipam, the trees, forests, the daughters, Duhitir of the mountains, the rivers, and all. These are the daughters of the mountains, the rivers, and all moving and non-moving entities. Oh no, there's a comma there. Sorry guys, I'm sorry. And all moving and non-moving entities. Verse 37. When Mother Yashoda saw the whole universe within the mouth of her child, her heart began to throb, and in astonishment, she wanted to close her restless eyes. Suddenly, or at the same time, Sahasa, Mother Yashoda began trembling out of fear. She closed her eyes in order to meditate on Vishnu. O Lord, please protect my child from this disturbance. Yashoda is described as having deer-like eyes because she glanced around like a frightened deer. In this way, Krishna's display of power and killing the demons did not diminish the prema of his intimate devotees like Mother Yashoda. Rather, appearance of anxiety, their ocean of prema increased. The Brajavasis believed that Krishna was saved because of abundant pious activities of Nanda and Yashoda and the gopis. In this case, however, Krishna simply displayed his power, his Aisha Shakti, not because of demons. Thoroughly surprised, Yashoda thought only this: what has happened to my child? Yashoda's affection did not by thinking of Krishna as a supreme lord. Yashoda did not need to find a cause for what happened. The cause of her disturbance was deep prema alone. This fixed quality of prema is continuously glorified. Thus it is described as follows. The energy of the Lord occasionally appeared detest Yashoda, but she made energy a servant of her prema. That's beautiful. Prema devya parikshartam agacchantantara antara shaktiresha hare kintu rasa dasikrit pravet. Thus ends the comment's chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam for the pleasure of the devotees, in accordance with the previous acharyas. That was a really beautiful last sentence. The energy of the Lord occasionally appeared to test Yashoda, but she made that energy a servant of her prema. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Nityalapa Vishnu Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Sai Maharaj Gurudev Ki Jai, Nityalapa Vishnu Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai, Nityalapa Vishnu Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Sai Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nityalapa Vishnu Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai, Nityalapa Vishnu Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nityalapa Vishnu Maha Bhagavat Srila Gaur Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Nityalapa Vishnu Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai, Nityalapa Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopal Padadas Raghunath Shard Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai, Namachay Shri Hari Das Ṭhākura Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kundi Munaga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Shri Vrajendra Nandan Sham Sundar Shri Krishna Chandra Ki Jai, Shri Nanda Baba Yashoda Maya Ki Jai, Sarva Vraja Devi Gan Ki Jai, Sarva Gopagan Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Sai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. I'm falling asleep. Oh wow, cool Kishore. Nice. Haribo Janardhan Prabhu, Rohit Radha Krishnan Ji. Alright, so tomorrow we will read the next chapter. Lord Krishna shows the universal form within his mouth. So we'll read from Srila Prabhupada's purports again. Alright, Haribo.